morning, everybody. Welcome to the May 20th, 2021 Lebanon County Commissioners meeting. This meeting is being recorded and will become part of public record. Anyone wishing to comment, please use the raise hand function at the bottom of your screen. And if the chairman allows, we'll bring you in.
Thank you, Dawn. Good morning and welcome to the Board of Commissioners meeting for May 20th. We will begin, as is customary, with the observance of a moment of silence. Thank you. Please rise for the pledge to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag
of the
of the United States of America
and to the
to the
republic
republic for which it stands,
one
nation, under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice
for
all. Thank
We're
you.
gonna have to work on that chorus and getting those voices aligned somehow.
I'm not sure if there's delay involved or not.
Yeah, I think different computers have different delays. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you know how hard it is for the singers. That's why they have someone tape it, coordinate it, and then play it. So I don't know, that could be an option too.
Okay, we can do that. Yep. Okay, we will look for raised hands for public comment. Seeing none, let's move along with the agenda, which includes the approval of the minutes of our workshop May 5th and the public meeting on May 6th.
I'll move to approve the minutes of the prior two meetings.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve those minutes. Any question or comment or additions or deletions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved. Move on to, we have a special guest with us this morning. Treasurer Sally Newen is with us. Good morning.
Yay.
It says Tina
Thank
Tobias,
you.
but it's really Sally Newen.
It is.
Are you at your desk, Sally?
Yes.
You can change your name back if you'd like.
I've signed in under her. I didn't sign in under this computer.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we had receipts on 5/18 and 5/19 of $202,172.85. That brings us to a total cash of $5,738,206.26. We have expenditures this week of $1,432,572.57, leaving us a cash balance of $4,305,633.69.
Seek a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report subject to audit.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the report of our treasurer. Any comment or question or hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. So moved, Sally.
Okay.
Unanimously. Yes, welcome back.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, now we'll move on to our HR report. Leanne.
Good morning.
Morning.
Leanne Shank, Human Resources Assistant. Under Resignations and Terminations, I have Karen Kaur, Fiscal Operations Officer, retirement effective July 17th with the last working day of July 16th. Joanna Cato, Caseworker 2, resignation effective May 7th. Kiara Shear, Full-time Correctional Officer, job abandonment effective May 13th with the last working day of May 6th. Edward Van Dusen, Corporal, retirement effective July 14th with the last working day of July 13th. And Lauren Moyer, a full-time correctional officer, resignation effective May 15th.
I make a motion to accept the resignations and terminations as read.
Second the motion with special recognition to Karen Kaur for almost 30 years of service, as well as Corporal Edward Van Dusen at the prison.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the terminations and resignations, retirements. Any comment beyond that? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
No changes of status, transfers, and promotions. Kathleen Dugan, promotion from Aging Care Supervisor 1 to Aging Care Manager Supervisor 2 in Area Agency on Aging at the rate of $1,592.95, effective May 31st. Daniel Crick, promotion from Caseworker 2 to Child Abuse Investigator in Children and Youth at the rate of $1,460.92 biweekly, effective May 17th. Kyle Ream, promotion from Caseworker 1 to Caseworker 2 in Children and Youth at the rate of $1,332.36 biweekly, effective June 14th. Diana Henriquez, promotion from General Clerk C Interpreter to Second Deputy Interpreter in the Clerk of Courts at the rate of $982.70 biweekly, with $57.69 interpreter stipend, effective May 31st. Arn Molman, transfer from Caseworker 2 and MHID EI to General Clerk C in the Clerk of Courts at the rate of $883.23 biweekly, effective May 31st. Cody Ludwig and Bradley Starry, both promotion from Lance Corporal to Corporal at the prison at the rate of $25.90 per hour, both effective May 30th.
Motion,
I'll make a motion to accept the transfers as presented.
Second.
we have a motion that has been duly seconded. Any comment or question? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, so moved.
Other transactions, I have a motion to approve President Judge Tillwalk's recommendation to temporarily reclassify Judge Charles' law clerk position from full-time to part-time through the summer months until the full-time law clerk can be obtained. This position will work a maximum of 20 hours per week at a rate of at the grade 8 on the non-union salary chart, effective June 7th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve Judge Tillwalk's recommendation. Any question or comment? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
Clerk of Courts would like to hire Michelle Roebuck as a General Clerk C at the rate of $883.23 biweekly, effective May 24th. President Judge Tillwalk would like to hire Timothy Spangler III as a temporary part-time law clerk / research assistant to Judge Charles at $16.34 an hour, effective June 7th. President Judge Tillwalk would like to rehire Carol Mari Ponce as a MDJ clerk interpreter at the rate of $850.30 biweekly with $57.69 biweekly interpreter stipend, effective June 7th. And the prison would like to hire the following 8 employees, all as full-time correctional officers, all at the rate of $15.91 per hour, all effective June 1st. Samuel Walter, Lauren Thompson, Samantha Smith, Lillian Nail, Alexandria Musser, Hannah Harlock, Artari Felton, Nicholas Andreessen. And the Sheriff's Office would like to rehire Matthew Bartle as a casual part-time deputy sheriff at the rate of $13.23 per hour, effective June 2nd.
I'll make a motion to approve those hirings as read.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve those transactions. Any questions or comments regarding the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, so ordered.
Moving on to salary board. If there are no questions regarding the transactions presented, is there a motion to adopt these transactions on the salary board?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve these previously adopted transactions under salary board. Any questions regarding the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, so moved.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Leah. Good morning.
Good morning.
Just
Morning.
If you introduce yourself and then you may proceed.
Stephanie Knoll, Benefits Coordinator. Under conference seminar requests under mandated, Austin Beachy and Ryan German from the Department of Emergency Services would like to attend emergency medical dispatch in Middletown on June 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, $730 registration fee, mileage, meal, parking, and toll reimbursement, 24 credits mandated by PEMA. Mallory Barr from Probation Services would like to attend American Red Cross CPR First Aid in Reading on June 14th, $117 registration fee, meals and parking. Reimbursements, 6.5 credits mandated by PBPP.
I'll make a motion to approve those mandated conference attendance.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve those mandated requests. Any comment or question? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
Under non-mandated, Michael Anderson and Joellen Riley from Voter would like to attend Association of Eastern PA County Election Personnel in Pocono Manor on June 3rd and 4th, $190 registration fee, lodging, mileage, meals, parking, and toll reimbursement.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve that voter registration office request. Any comment or question on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, so moved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, staff.
Okay, do we want to go to, okay, we've got Warden Litz, and she's going to present the GTL agreement for phone service, inmate phone services, so.
Yep. Good morning, Warden. Please you may proceed.
You're still muted.
Please unmute. There you go.
My apologies. Tina Litz, Warden at the Lebanon County Prison. I had emailed a copy of the GTL contract that we're asking for approval to move forward with, which would include the tablets and video visitation here at the county correctional facility.
Would you want to be willing to just talk about some of this GTL, by the way, is a company we've been contracting with for a very long time for inmate phone services, provides them the ability to call out, provides for charges that are incurred by them, provides for a commission that the facility gets. And as GTL has done with ours and other facilities, they offer back certain services and technology and so on as a partner in this. So, but this particular one, they're offering some educational opportunities that I think you're pretty excited about. I guess that's the right word. But can you just talk about those for a moment and how the pads, the tablets would work in terms of inmate use for a little bit?
Sure. So I did have the solicitor, take a look at the contract. I went back to GTL, met with Tom Gibby, and he kind of added some things to the contract which would benefit our inmates. One of the most highlighted benefits to the inmates having the tablet would be something called the Edovo Core Education Suite. So on the tablets, at no cost to the inmates, no cost to us, there will be several models of education and learning for the inmate population. The tablets are good for education, for contact with the community, especially with COVID, but also different behavioral settings that for us to utilize to help with the inmate population. Some of the core education offers on the tablet would be cognitive behavioral therapy and mental health components, the GED HiSET component. So we haven't been able to run on-site GED or HiSET classes due to COVID. We've been doing the back and forth packets. But as you guys know, sometimes inmates are too embarrassed to, it's not cool to get, to be in school or to further your education or to maybe meet when you need some help with some things. So these tablets offer an opportunity of confidentiality for the inmates if they want to better enhance themselves. There's a section for job skills and personal finance, which as a county correctional facility and knowing our inmate component is going to be re-entered back into the community, that's a highlight for us to be able to offer the potential for them to find ways to better themselves to come out to the community. There's the religion and spirituality aspect, reading and literacy, some legal topics, and just some overall educational videos, et cetera, that the population would have access to. We would divvy out X amount of tablets per block on each of the blocks within the institution, and they would have access to them during their blockout period. The part of the old contract that we had that Warden Carnes helped initiate was getting to the video visiting. We would finish up that component and add the additional tablets, working with GTL and then being in contact with IT in order to make that happen.
Okay, Commissioner Litz has a question.
I do. I'm still unclear with your terminology. They will not be going into their cells. They would be monitored in a central location on each block?
No, they could take the, so they have like what's called a docking system on the block. So we would account for them at the beginning and the end of their blockouts. They can take them to read in their cells or to do educational work in their cells. The difference is if they're going to be utilizing them for any kind of visit, it would have to be on a docking system. And there's some security operational things I don't want to publicly get into, but we could talk at a later date about those. So they would be able to have access to them. They time out at a certain period. So they would have access to take them in and out of their cells.
So they, during video visits, must be monitored then?
Yes, and we do have security operational examples of policies that we will put in place to protect the community and the inmate in that regard.
And do the inmates sign that if they destroy one, that they would pay to replace it?
That would be part of the policy that we would develop, yes.
All right,
And
those were
not,
just some of the things I wasn't sure about.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that would be similar to any other property. I mean, that is customary, that if there is damage to property, it's an obligation.
Current policy, sorry for interrupting you, Jamie, is if they do destruct some kind of destruction of prison property, they would be handled disciplinary wise, and if found guilty, then they're responsible for reimbursement.
Well, we wouldn't actually own these, would we? Are they owned by the company, the GTI company, or do we actually own them?
Well, part of the contract is they're ours for our usage. I'd have to clarify that more in depth as far as like, they're ours, but there's a requirement that we have to be able to provide them for the use of the inmate population, if that makes sense. Like we can't just get them and not provide them to the inmates. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Yeah, I don't think we own them. The advantage to not owning them, but having them simply provided to us is the updating of them, the replacing of them, the responsibility. I mean, if you go and buy a batch of tablets, in another year or two or whenever from wear and tear or use, you have to go buy a bunch more. It's very similar to the laptops and desktops that we use the county and lease those on a rotation so that they're always updated.
Thank
And
you.
the malware kinds of things, will this have the ability to affect our main computer system and internet services?
To my knowledge, no. IT looked at the contract. They also took a look at it and didn't see a problem with it. They would work hand in hand with GTL as we would advance if you guys approve of the contract. So they've been networking about this in general. I know in the beginning when the tablets first came out, there was an issue, which is why probably we didn't jump on the bandwagon in the beginning because tablets have been around for quite a while now. They kind of worked out those security kinks to date. So where we're at, there's nothing that we should be aware of that would be a problem.
So they cannot hack in with malware and all that. But how about, if we have security issues, can we shut them down for a period of time? Do we have that authority?
There's certain security and operational things that I feel like we could talk, not here, just for the security and operations of the institution to protect that. So I'd love to have that conversation. I just don't feel comfortable jeopardizing the security of the institution by doing it at this point.
Does our IT have to set these up or does the company set them up?
The contract would have GTL come in and they would do all the wiring, all the legwork, et cetera. IT already did what they call the channel study, which is something GTL would do, like a checks and balance. And when they previewed it, they didn't see that there would be an issue. But GTL would be in contact with Danielle and Jay at IT, and they would work this out together.
But who installs the software programs?
GTL,
Okay,
the actual
All
company,
right.
I'm sorry.
no, that's all right. I'm just trying to, I read the contract, but there were still some things I wasn't sure about, like IT. I'm glad they got to review everything and make sure that it won't interfere with what we do at the county. And how about the bandwidth? Sometimes we tell employees to clean out old files because we're out of bandwidth. And does this interfere with our bandwidth?
I believe that was part of the quote unquote channel study that IT did. If you would feel comfortable, Tom Gibney from the company, he can't do it in a public setting, but if you guys would like him to meet with you and give you a presentation, he's more than willing to do that.
I don't need a whole presentation. I'd just like to know what the amount of bandwidth is and if it's going to slow down our operations in the county.
It's important to keep in mind, first of all, these tablets are just end user devices. These aren't like a laptop or a desktop that's storing files or anything like that. It's just a means to access back to the main source of the education files and all of those sorts of things. But it's also not part of the server farm that IT maintains. So it's
A
this
separate
is
server.
this is just as if you would. I'm trying to come up with an example, which I'm not doing a great job of, but it is a standalone with these end user devices. These are dumb devices, so to speak. They're just something that gives them access to read things and to communicate by sort of like a FaceTime.
They cannot store anything on the tablet.
No.
According to the contract, it's 2.4 G8Z through 5 G8C bands. Now, I'm not a technological guru, but again, that doesn't seem to be a whole lot of, and again, they're going to be using them at their blockout periods, which according, to our operations, they get 2 hours at a time at random points during a 24 daily operations. Again, ITI looked over this and IT, and I really believe if there was any kind of problem or conflict, Danielle would have said, hey, stop the train, like we can't do this. And I would have respected that. So I trust by them looking over it, it's part of the checks and balance system to make sure we are doing the right thing and moving forward in the right direction with them.
Okay, I'm more comfortable with your answers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill, do you have Commissioner Ames, any questions?
No, are you ready for a motion?
Yes, go ahead. Yep.
Well, I will make a motion for us to adopt this contract, and I'll just preface that motion with I think Tina used the expression she's excited about the educational opportunity, and I too am excited about that, and I feel very comfortable that folks in our organization, IT and the prison and so on, have done their legwork and made sure that it's operationally sound for the county. So, we have people incarcerated, but we never want to overlook the final goal is to try to return these folks to everyday life and be a contributing part of our society. And this seems to me like an opportunity to at least help facilitate that. So I'm anxious to make a motion that we accept this contract and move forward.
I'll second the motion with just one additional comment. I was glad that they had a program on parenting. I think that's important.
Yes.
My reaction to reading through this was that it gives you additional tools to help you manage the inmate population. And so I think all that is a good investment of our time to be involved in this. So, all right, any other comments or questions regarding this motion? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same signs, so moved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Warden. Okay.
Okay, retirement board's up next in about 5 minutes. I think we have looks like we've got Mr. Jameson on manager, but I don't see yet either Mike Battistelli or Brett. Oh, there's Steeple. Oh, there they are. I didn't even see it on the list of attendees. I'm so sorry. All three are great. I'll hand it back. Sorry.
Good morning. We will ask you to speak slowly today. Even spell if you'd want to. That'll slow you. Yes, welcome. And if you'd like to introduce yourselves, and then whoever's going to tee it up can start right now and proceed.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having us again. We appreciate the opportunity to be able to come in and give an update to the board with regards to the pension funds. My name is Brett Holland. I'm with Stifel, and this is Sonia Gross, also with Stifel, and Mike Battistelli with Stifel. And then we have Chris Jameson on the phone. He's with Uniplan, which is your REIT portfolio, the real estate investment trust portfolio. We've had in the past Paul DeJute. If you remember him, he came in and visited us over a number of different years and times, and always did a good job of kind of explaining that. And Paul retired, and so he's probably enjoying himself right now. And Chris has stepped in to help us out, so we appreciate him joining us today. So if you would pull out, I think we'll get started. If you pull out the report, and it looks a little bit different than what you've had in the past. So we've updated the reporting system. Stifel has updated the reporting system, and it has somewhat of a similar layout, but it's probably good that we have a few extra minutes today just to kind of walk through some of that. There's some additional information that our prior reporting did not have in that this one does. So if you go to page 4 of 11, and that's in the bottom right-hand corner, so you're tracking on the same page 4 of 11. And this just kind of has a similar page look to what we had before. And on the top left-hand side, and this is, I should say, this is ending March 31st. So this is ending the first quarter of the year. And then Mike will have up to date through yesterday. But ending the first quarter of the year, your balance was $141,875,390. And you can see that listed there as the ending value. I'm kind of starting at the bottom and working my way up. Your current, under the current period, column, it started, which would have been a January 1st number of $139,050,695. So just like the prior report, it shows the withdrawals, deposits and withdrawals, which would be withdrawals of about 2.1 million, appreciation of about 4.9 million, and then with your ending value there. So for the first quarter of the year, the total return was the 3.57% that's listed there on the report. So those first three columns are all identical because it's the current period, the quarter period, and then the year to date. So since this is the first quarter, that's why they all mimic each other. And then they have a since inception number, which goes back to June of 2007. I believe Stifel and actually Archie, Mike's dad, had worked with the board prior to that back to 2003, but our reporting goes back to 2007. So you can see the historical return of 6.62% there for the last 14 years. So any questions on that part of it at all?
Remind me what the assumption is. The assumed rate.
7.25.
7.25. Thank you.
And then the chart to the right is just simply a performance chart, just so you can see it more in a picture format, is all that is. The bottom left corner of the page is just your top 10 holdings, if you will, in the overall portfolio. This was, again, on your prior report. And then the bottom right-hand corner, the pie chart there, just breaks out your asset allocation. And before, I would always talk to you and explain how that the REIT portfolio, the portion of your account that Chris is going to talk about today, was not broken out there. Here it is. So we have cash and equivalents, or cash equivalents of 3%. Alternative investments, which is actually the REIT portfolio that, again, Chris will be speaking about today, is 4%. fixed income or bonds of 28%, and then the equities of 65%. And we're a little heavier in equities. And again, Mike will address that here in a few minutes. We're going to talk about reallocating some of that as we have in the past as well. Any questions with that at all? All right, page 5. I'm not going to spend a lot of time there. This just has each of the managers broken down. Our old reporting system had it more in the back of the book. This kind of keeps it in the front of the book. So on page 5, under manager/portfolio, you see some of the names that you recognize for guests that will come in and give updates on their particular piece of the portfolio. Again, Uniplan is listed there, the 5th one from the bottom there, and they have about $5.6 million of the overall pension represented in their sleeve. And page 6, we'll move back to page 6. This is page 6 and 7 we did not have in the last report. I think it's actually good for you all to be able to see this too. It shows a little more historical performance. So on page 6, if you kind of look at the bottom of that, it says total, and it kind of shows the balances and so on. And if you move across the page on the kind of the right half of the page, there's a 1-year number there of 32.56%. So that's April 1st of 2020 up through March 31st of 2021. So that's a full 12-month number of 32%, 3-year number of 10.16, 5-year number of 9.17, and then it shows a 10-year number of 8.08%. So again, just gives a little more reference to some more history of the performance. And then the last thing I'll just mention is page 7. Instead of giving it like a 1, 3, 5, 10-year period, it just breaks it down annually to kind of see what's happened each year. So again, if you go to the total at the bottom, you can kind of walk across there and kind of see how each year ended up from a performance standpoint. So questions with any of that at all?
Any questions for Stiefel? No.
All right. With that, Mike will give you an up-to-date through yesterday and some other details.
Yeah, so through yesterday, the pension balance was $145,364,085. And the year-to-date, again, I always preface this because it's unaudited, so we get the finalized numbers, but looks like the return currently is 6.81%.
Could you repeat the first number, please? I had to turn up the volume. Brett was very loud and you were a little lower.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, it's $145,364,085.
Thank you.
Yeah. And again, our allocation is not entirely different from what Brett reported. Our equities are just a little bit higher. It's something that we do look at every, really every month, but particularly when we come in to see you, we look at it quarterly, and we do have some responsibility to follow the investment policy statement that we've, the board here has kind of all agreed to. So we are a little high on the equity exposure. The highest limit should be around 60%, and we're 63, 64% currently, backing out the real estate investment trust piece. So what we are recommending is taking about $4 million, somewhat equally out of the equity managers, and moving that over to the cash that we have. And that will be used for future distributions. So if we do get into a market of, a down market or volatile market, we're not having to go to the equity managers and selling it at a bad time. Just keeping some cash on hand probably seems to make the most sense at this time.
That'll get you right around 60 then.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
I'll make a motion to move $4 million to the cash category from the equity
I'm
category.
not sure we need a motion to do that.
No, we normally don't.
It's already within the policy that we have.
Yeah.
But they can't just move the funds without approval.
Well, I think we approved it.
Yeah,
when
they
we
can
approved it.
reallocate without approval, as long as it stays in line with the investment policy.
Okay. All right. So, Michael, anything else?
I do not. Are there any overall questions with the pension itself?
I don't have any questions.
There aren't any. I think at this time we'll turn it over to Chris Jameson from Uniplan and the REIT piece of your portfolio, which I think Brett had mentioned represents about 4% of the overall portfolio.
Very good. Mr. Jameson, you may unmute and begin your presentation. The suspense.
All right, I can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
And can you see me okay? I just see a blank screen on mine, so.
It's all we see.
That's what we see.
No, we don't see you.
Okay. I
Is
don't
your
know if there's
camera
any-
up?
Yep, camera's up, it's uncovered. I don't know that there's any other adjustment I can make on my end.
Did you hit the little video part to turn it
Excuse
on?
me.
Oh.
There we go.
Oh, we had
Almost.
you.
Have it.
You must have double clicked and turned it off again.
There we go.
How's that?
Put another quarter in it, Chris.
There we go. I've got some change though. Well, thank you. Again, my name's Chris Jameson. I'm President and CEO of Uniplan Investment Council. I know in the past, my colleague, former colleague, Paul DeJute, still good friend, has spoke with you. He retired about a year and a half ago, as Brett mentioned. But it's a pleasure to have the opportunity to speak with you, and good morning to the Stiefel team as well. I thought over the next few minutes, and I'll tell you, at first I was under the impression I might have only 10 or 15 minutes, but now I understand we might have a little bit longer than that. Correct me if that's wrong. So I can certainly expand on some of the details, and I'm happy to do so.
Concise is always good.
I will do a little bit of both, maybe.
You're correct. You have plenty of time.
Okay. And by all means, although I'm prepared to make a presentation, I like to make these as interactive as possible. So if I say anything that's unclear or you want me to repeat, feel free to interrupt me and I can elaborate on that point. So just a little bit of background on Uniplan. We were started by my partner and friend, Richard or Rick Imperiali, back in 1988. We've managed the REIT portfolio since 1989, which makes us amongst the longest REIT managers in the space. There's another manager that's out there that gets us by a year in terms of their track record. But during that time period, they've had multiple portfolio managers lead that product, while my partner, Rick Imperiali, who's the chief investment officer, has been consistent and continues to manage the portfolio today. Uniplan is a boutique investment manager. We manage about 1.6 billion of our clients' assets, of which approximately 1.1 billion is in the REIT portfolio. We also manage an equity income strategy for our clients, as well as a microcap strategy, which looks at very small publicly traded companies here in the US. The REIT portfolio, as I said, was started in 1989. We have won numerous awards over the years for the work that we've done with our clients, and we're very proud of that. I know we've worked with you for a number of years as well, and we hope to continue to do so. And what I thought I'd do today is just talk about really three different areas that I frequently get questions on. And number one is the changing landscape of commercial real estate. Over the last 10 and 15 years, And I think a lot of investors and even professional investors, quite frankly, don't realize just how dynamic commercial real estate has been over the last, not just the last 10 to 15 years, but really over the last 30 and 40 years. I'll also talk a little bit about how the pandemic, how COVID-19 has affected the different sectors of commercial real estate. And then finally, I'll conclude with a question that I've gotten frequently in the last couple of months, which is how do we expect commercial real estate might behave if we're to get into a sustained inflationary environment? And then at the end, if we've got time, certainly open it up for some questions and answers. But as I said earlier at the top, feel free to interrupt me at any point along that way. So one of the things to begin about commercial real estate that if you look at it over the last 10 and 15 years, really since the great financial crisis, and I think this is a surprise to a lot of investors who, when they think about what they're investing in, when they invest in REITs and commercial real estate, oftentimes they at least tell me, they'll say, well, aren't we really getting things like office space primarily? Maybe it's retail space, things like shopping malls, maybe community strip centers, and to a lesser degree, maybe apartment operators, very large apartment operators that might own thousands of units across the countries or in a particular geographic area. And while that's true, that's not as much true today as it was 10 and 15 years ago. When you looked at commercial real estate just prior to the great financial crisis, retail was in fact the largest sector. In fact, it was just under 30% of commercial real estate. Apartments were about 16%, and they were followed closely by office space, about 15%. So between those three sectors, you had over half of the asset class, in fact, approaching 60%. But as technology has grown and become a bigger part of our lives, it's really changed the landscape of commercial real estate, particularly the growth in e-commerce, online shopping, as well as the growth in wired and wireless communication, whether it be over the internet or through your cell phone, through cellular communication. When you looked at technology-related real estate prior to the financial crisis, it was less than 5% of the asset class. 15 years later, when we look at technology-related real estate, and when I say technology-related real estate, really what I'm specifically referring to are what we call either cell tower REITs. These are the real estate companies that will own the cell towers. They'll own the land the cell tower is on. They'll construct the tower and maintain the tower. And then they'll lease the space on that tower out to the AT&Ts, the Verizons, the Sprints, or T-Mobiles of the world for them to put their equipment on. But it's actually the real estate companies that own and operate that tower. The data centers are the other component of that technology-related real estate. And when I talk about data centers, if you think about a data center really similar to a hub airport, where when you're searching for information over the internet and it's flowing through lines of communication, it's flowing from your location typically to what's called the data center. And that data center takes that request or search for information and it reroutes it, again, like a hub airport, out to wherever that information is stored, and then it brings it back to you. Well, those data centers are often housed with very sophisticated computer communication equipment, things like servers. Sometimes you hear these referred to as server farms. And so the Amazons of the world, Yahoo, Google, et cetera, will use these spaces, these data centers, and the real estate companies, the REITs, are the ones that own the land, own the building, construct the building, because these buildings are housed with such sophisticated computer equipment. They need very specialized heating, ventilation, and cooling, or HVAC, in order to keep those machines running at optimal temperatures and operating efficiently. They also require a great amount of electricity to be supplied to them. And so, again, the real estate companies own and operate those, and then they lease space out within their facility to Google, Amazon, and other internet-related companies. And while, as I said, that space was less than 5% of the asset class prior to the financial crisis, today, technology-related real estate, or what we call specialty real estate, is just under 37% of commercial real estate. It's grown by over 7-fold in that time period. And the other area that's also, I'll say tangentially, if I can say it that way, related to the growth in technology is what we call industrial real estate. And when I say industrial real estate, really what we're talking about are warehouses, logistics centers, pass-through centers. Those are about 16% of the asset class today. And that's because as less product gets shipped from the manufacturer to the retail store shelf, it now gets shipped to the warehouse, where it waits until Amazon or Walmart, whoever you ordered it from, comes and picks it up and delivers it to your door. So between specialty and industrial real estate, you now have over half of the asset class in those related areas. And today, when you look at retail, it's shrunk from just under 30 to about 10%. So it shrunk by 2/3. And office space has gone from about 15% down to about 6% of the portfolio. Apartments have largely stayed about the same. They're roughly 16% of the portfolio. In fact, apartments have remained strong because, as many of you are aware, affordable housing here in the United States is frankly hard to come by. And that's in most all regions of the US. And we don't see an immediate solution to that anytime soon. The home builders have largely begun to focus on more mid and upper tier priced housing because frankly, their margins are a little wider. They tend to make more money than producing the single family housing. So apartments, again, about 16%, and we don't see that changing over the next couple of years. So that's how real estate has really changed and how dynamic it's been over the last 10 and 15 years. But over the last year, of course, because of COVID, it's been a very interesting space. The technology-related real estate, you could almost say, hasn't missed a beat. In fact, it's become even more in demand as people have worked from home, worked remotely. The demand for both wired and wireless communication has really only grown. I have 3 high school age kids. One's now in college, but they do their Zoom calls. I do Zoom calls. They were all working or studying here from home. And one of the first things we realized last March was that we needed to get a new router in the house because all 3 of us online, one of us was getting kicked out of our call every so often. And that's because there was so much information and data flowing over those lines. And so that area has continued to stay strong, as has the industrial part, because as more of us were not only working from home, we were also shopping from home. And so the warehouses, the demand for that space, the construction of warehouses, as I could say, other than maybe the first 3 months of the pandemic, that stuff has largely remained strong as well. The areas, though, that were hardest hit within commercial real estate were hotels, as people stopped traveling. hotel occupancy rate across the board fell below 30%. I traveled a little bit, largely to go see my son over the last year, who was away at university. And I stayed in some hotels where there weren't more than 10 people staying in the hotel. And the hotel was literally staffed by a front desk person, a security person, and then the coffee shop would be open from like 7 till 10 in the morning, and then they'd close until the next day, when typically they'd be open till 10 o'clock at night. Hotels are 2% of your portfolio. We own one name in that space. It's Host Marriott. Marriott is the largest player in the hotel space, both domestically and internationally. And our view has been that they will come out the other side of this a stronger and probably larger player. That's because they have the size and the balance sheet to take advantage of smaller distressed operators that may not be able to make it through the pandemic, may not be able to make it through these difficult times. And so again, it's not a large part of the portfolio, only 2%, only one holding, but that's an area that after the vaccine has come out, and as we've seen the reopening, Host was about $10 a share, and last I punched it up yesterday, Host Marriott was trading about $18 a share. So the investment community has already started to anticipate the opening of that and the recovering of operations in that area. The second area that was fairly hard hit was retail, which again is a little less than 10% of your portfolio. And within retail, you can really break retail down into 3 different subsectors. The first being shopping malls. And when we went into the pandemic last March, we didn't have any exposure to shopping malls. We did in the prior year. We owned the biggest operator of shopping malls, a company called Simon Property Group. But for a number of reasons, prior to the pandemic, we sold Simon Property Group at around $150 a share, between $140 and $150 a share. Simon, during the pandemic, fell by 2/3. Again, we didn't own it, but the shopping malls, because they were largely closed, saw a great decrease in revenues and earnings, and their stocks suffered for that. The other 2 subsectors within retail is where we did have exposure in the portfolio. And those are what we call the community strip shopping centers. Think of your grocery anchored shopping center that might have on either side of it a hair salon, a nail salon, maybe a local restaurant or a coffee shop. And while some of those smaller stores did close down and those revenues were affected for a shorter period of time, the grocery stores remained open, and because nobody was eating out, that grocery business remained strong. So the Krogers of the world did just fine during that pandemic. The other area that we had exposure within retail is what we call retail freestanding. And retail freestanding can be defined as fast food restaurants, McDonald's, Burger King, a Panda Express, a Chick-fil-A, or a local bank branch. And those, both the bank branches and the fast food places were considered essential services. And for any of you that have kids or grandkids, you know, my kids got tired of my cooking, although I think I'm a pretty good cook, and so is my wife. They were eventually ready to go out and have a little change of taste. And if you pulled up to any of those drive-through lines, you know, they were longer than they'd been at any time previously. So that retail freestanding, although it typically isn't a fast-growing business, they're normally very reliable dividend payers and dividend growers over time. And that's what we've seen over the last 12 months. Now, I will say that in the fourth quarter of last year, because of the valuation, we did go back into Simon Property Group. We decided that Simon Property Group, which is the mall operator, the shopping mall operator, from a valuation standpoint, they were trading at about a 30% discount to their net asset value. And so we bought Simon Property Group in the low 70s back into your portfolio. Last I punched it up, Simon Property Group was trading around $115, $120 a share. Again, I think benefiting from the anticipation of the reopening within the country. Finally, the other area that was hit was office space, again, from everybody working from home. Now, office space is an interesting one. Office makes up a little less than 6% of your portfolio. But when you think about office spaces, even if all of your employees are working from home, if you're a company that is a credit company and you've signed a lease, and most leases for office space tend to be longer term, at least 3 to 5 years, sometimes 7, 10 years, or even longer. It doesn't matter if everybody's working from home, you've still got to pay that monthly lease. And so that's what happened. Within your portfolio, we owned really 2 names. Most of the exposure was in a company called, and remains in a company called Alexandria Real Estate. Even though Alexandria Real Estate is categorized as office, they're an interesting play, we think, within office space, because really what they do is they build and maintain laboratories. And so their clients are largely biotech type or science related firms. And of course, during the pandemic, many of those types of companies were working overtime. That stock really never even fell very much from its all-time high. So Alexandria Real Estate, again, a little over half of that exposure. The one true office company that we did have is called SL Green. And SL Green operates office space specifically in New York, in Manhattan. And we own SL Green because from a valuation standpoint, they're trading better than 35% discount to their net asset value. If you looked at the price per square foot of SL Green, it's trading below $700 a square foot. If you look today at what commercial real estate, specifically office real estate, is trading at in New York City, it's around $1,400 to $1,500 a square foot. In fact, Amazon just recently did a very large transaction. They took up over 100,000 square feet, and they paid just over $1,400 a square foot. So in our mind, there's this disconnect between the value of SL Green, what the market perceives as, and what privately traded commercial real estate is really trading at. And so that company's management team has taken under a very interesting strategy where, and you almost never see this with REITs. You see it with publicly traded companies, C corporations. You've seen it a lot over the last 10 years where they go out, they take on debt, and they buy back their company's stocks. They do stock buybacks. That doesn't typically happen with real estate operators. They tend to be serial issuers of capital. They issue equity or debt. They use those proceeds to then develop more property. But SL Green's management team, in recognizing the discount between what the public market is valuing them at and what the private market, undertook a strategy where they've started buying back their company stock. They're essentially selling a building at a time out of their portfolio. They're using the proceeds from that sale, and they're buying back in what they perceive to be stock that's trading below 35% below where it should be. And so they'll either continue to do that until the market recognizes that discount, or they'll eventually take the company private, and the privately traded commercial real estate will recognize that. So that's the office exposure in your portfolio, again, about 6%. As I mentioned, industrial, about 16%, continues to do well in the pandemic. Apartments about 16%. So now we've covered over 85% of the portfolio's positioning today. There's a couple of very small subsectors that remain. Medical office properties, a little over 5%. Medical has been sort of a mixed bag. Either you operate maybe a surgery center, a doctor's office, and depending upon your specialty, if you're a surgery center, certainly early on in the pandemic, a lot of elective surgeries were postponed, but they were just that, postponed, not canceled. You've started to see all of that come back on. And then if you were in urgent care type facilities where we had some exposure, those were busy because of the pandemic. Self-storage is a little less than 5% of the portfolio. Self-storage tends to remain a pretty defensive business, even in a recessionary or slowing environment. And the self-storage holdings that we owned in the portfolio held up relatively well versus the broader market. And then finally, rounding out the portfolio, I think Brett mentioned we hold in about 3% cash currently in the portfolio. If I may shift gears just a little bit, if there aren't any questions about the portfolio positioning, the different sectors, I'd finally talk just a little bit about what we think might happen in an inflationary environment. And we won't know how long we may be in an inflationary environment. The Federal Reserve has told us that any inflation we'll see will be transitory because we're coming off of a very low base when things were largely shut down last year and now reopening. It's only natural that we're going to see some. Whether that remains sustained for a year, 2 or 3 years will be seen. But typically when you get in an inflationary environment, commercial real estate tends to perform well. We saw that in the 1970s. Real estate acted as a good hedge to inflationary forces. Since the 70s, we haven't been in a period of inflation that lasted that long. You have to really go back to 2003 to mid-2006 timeframe before the last time we saw a commodity-related inflationary environment. And we've certainly seen commodities go up here in the last 6 months through the reopening. And what normally happens is if you think about the input prices, what goes into putting up a commercial building, the commodities, it's concrete, steel, gypsum board, even labor. As you get the increase in those input prices, what that tends to then do is it also increases the value of in-place real estate that's already been built. Because if you have across the street from you a raw piece of land where a competitor might come in to build a competing property, but that developer has to pay 10, 20, or 30% more to put that structure up because of the increase in those underlying components, then that developer has to see the economic price point also go up where it makes sense. In other words, rents need to increase 10, 15, whatever that number is in terms of the commodity price increase. And so those rents that are in the market currently tend to rise over time to meet that new supply. So again, I think it'll take some time to see whether or not the Fed is correct in their prediction that this inflation that we're seeing now is just going to be transitory and goes away for a year. We tend to lean on the side that we're probably going to see it a little bit longer than that. And that's largely due to what we think has been a disruption in the supply chain because of the global pandemic. You already see that in things like semiconductors. Semiconductors are the shortage in semiconductors is affecting all sorts of products, not only computers, cell phones, et cetera, even your automobiles. And we think it's going to take some time to correct those disruptions in the supply chain. So let me stop there, see if I haven't generated any questions, anything I might be able to clarify. again, I certainly appreciate your time.
Chris, I thank you. That was awesome. And I think that, since we had some extra time today, that diving a little deeper into the detail was just very valuable for us. Thank you.
Sure.
And my only question would be, is 4% in the right place for us, in your opinion?
Well, I can't speak without knowing everything else in your portfolio and what your objectives are as intimately as the Stiefel team does. I will tell you that what we see from most institutional investors is somewhere between about 4 and 12% of their portfolio. I think we've seen recently, because of the concern of higher interest rates and how that might affect fixed income, I think we've seen our clients, our institutional clients, peel back a little bit of their fixed income portfolio, thinking that we might be getting into a higher interest rate environment, and reallocating that to their commercial real estate exposure, knowing that they're going to take on a little bit more volatility because it is an equity, but still maintaining the yield exposure. And if we get into that higher rate environment, higher inflation environment, commercial real estate and REITs should do better than fixed income.
Thank you.
I hope that answers.
Yeah, and I guess it really should have been directed more to Stiefel, but these alternative investments were sort of new to, in terms of percentages and increasing our exposure there. But just, something to think about. We do need to wrap up this segment. So if there's any, questions from other panelists or
if I may just add,
yeah.
I was just going to add, I think the Stiefel team has done the absolutely right thing by adding alternatives, because one of the biggest things about commercial real estate is that it just doesn't behave like fixed income or other equities over time. You really, by adding commercial real estate and REITs to the portfolio, it sounds a little bit cliche, but you've sort of added a third leg to the stool of which your portfolio rests on. And so you get this, not only while one zigs and one zags, but you get this third component in there that just doesn't behave like the others over time. And so I think that's absolutely the right approach, whether you change the allocation or not, certainly up to you and the team. But again, thank you for your time here.
All right, Chris, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anything else from Stiefel?
Thank you so much. We were all talking. Good to see you, Sally. And that was all we had. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Mr. Controller, did you have a question?
I don't have a question. I just have the one motion, that item that I had passed by email about contracting with another firm to monitor our securities similar to Kessler Topaz, and they have talked to Stiefel, and the Stiefel's vetted them, and they're in agreement with us adding another firm, the what were they called? The Rigrodsky law firm. The advantage of having a second firm do the monitoring is they may look in different areas than Kessler Topaz does. And similar to Kessler Topaz, there is no cost to us to do this service. The only time that there would be any kind of an expense would be if they would file a class action and get a recovery. So I would respectfully move that we contract Rigrodsky law to be the second firm to monitor our securities.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion, Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Not all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. So moved.
Thank you very much.
All right, sir. Thank you all, and look forward to seeing you next quarter.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. All right, Jamie, it's back to you till.
Yep, well, she's here.
Oh, is that right?
Yep.
I don't think her sound is working unless she got it up.
Here, can you guys?
Yes, thank you. I saw the note and I wasn't sure.
All right. My name is Audrey.
I am the Lebanon County Dairy Princess, and I just wanted to show you guys the importance of making sure to bring
Excuse me, Audrey, we're having some audio issues from your end. It's cutting in and out.
Do you have any background noise there it might be taking over the mic while you're talking? It seems like, no?
I don't think so.
Maybe a little closer might help. I don't know.
Could you hear me okay now?
It's still cutting.
I'm not sure what the issue is.
Okay, go ahead. We'll just do the best we can with it.
Just stay close. That seems to get a little better.
It seems to be better right now.
Yeah, I think.
Okay. Close your eyes. Imagine yourself driving through a rural area of Pennsylvania. You look out your window and see cows grazing in a beautiful lush pasture. You see endless fields of emerald green with the fragrant smell of fresh, clean summer air. Now imagine yourself on a snow-covered, brisk winter day, drinking a warm cup of homemade hot with real milk and whipped cream. Open your eyes. This was all made possible by Pennsylvania that not only takes care of, but also feeding you wholesome, pure dairy products. Pennsylvania dairy is an important industry that betters and supports the local economy. Did you know that farmers are stewards of the land and are lowering the carbon between 2007 and 2017? The carbon footprint of 1 pound of milk was lowered by 19.2% in just years. In recent years, an option farmers have chosen to do is no-till crop. This means that the farmer can turn over the soil after harvest and before they plant the next crop. This offers many environmental, including less soil erosion, higher quality, and less water evaporation. To avoid water runoff, farmers plant a cover crop so bare soil is exposed, or use grass buffer strips to help filter the. Farmers are also using less pest management practices or fertilizers, and only needed, and collecting water runoff from buildings or fields so it doesn't go directly into lakes or streams. These are just some of the many ways farmers protect and preserve the environment. There is 109 cows, which provides Pennsylvania alone over 52,000 jobs. The jobs and dairy utilize is numerous and diverse. This could be anything: delivery truck, feed nutritionists, veterinarian, repairmen, custom field workers, and much more. As a looking for a career, I know the 6,500 farm businesses provide many job opportunities. These jobs, along with the sales from dairy products, boost local economy, accounting for over $14.6 billion in Pennsylvania annually. If you purchase milk within the state, you are helping Pennsylvania. Milk that comes from out of state, lots of trucking. Purchasing milk from a farm a few miles down the road versus a few states away lowers greenhouse emissions. Not to mention, your milk is super fresh and was just at the farm days prior. The quality and taste of farm fresh milk just cannot be beat. So, how can you guarantee that you will always get fresh and great tasting local milk? When purchasing dairy products, look at your label. Look for the plant code 40, usually located towards the top of your milk jug. Milk with a code 42 means that the milk was processed in Pennsylvania. Also, look for the PA preferred logo. This means the processing was done in Pennsylvania and the milk came from. You can count on around you to provide fresh and great tasting milk. As the consumer, it is vital to choose Pennsylvania dairy. Farming has a major impact, and you do as well. The next time you head down the dairy aisle at a grocery store, think about all of the local farm families that work year-round to put nature's most nearly perfect food on the shelves. Pennsylvania dairy farmers do all that they can to provide a wholesome and pure product while lowering their carbon footprint. Making the choice to buy local ensures a future for farm families just like mine all across the state. As a daughter of a Pennsylvania dairy farm, I'd like to say thank you for supporting our.
Well, thank you very much. And certainly we'll all see you at the fair. My assumption is we'll see you frequently out there. And maybe we could have you come back and share that message with us another time also, when your schedule is free, so that the importance of agriculture and the importance of your reign this year. We want to make sure we give it justice, and so we can hear the whole thing without those little dead spots. So thank you, Audrey, for being with us. And Commissioner Litz has a question for you.
Audrey, I tried to shut off my mute and unmute so that it would hopefully give you more power. But I know that you said that people should look for the PA preferred label, and there's also a code, and that broke out both times you said it. If you could try again and/or write it in the chat box, that would be great, so people know they're buying local milk.
Yeah, the code is 42. So when you see list of numbers, the first number will start with 42, and that's how you'll know.
That's 42, right?
Yes,
42?
that's 42.
Okay, thank you.
Jamie?
Audrey, if you could just quickly, how you're presenting this because it gives you, I guess, credits or points or something, I think, toward furthering, and competition. Can you explain a little bit why you've been going around as many places as you can to do this?
Yes, so our main goal as dairy promotion is to get the word out about the dairy industry and the quality product that dairy farmers. Each of the events that we do get incentive points, and this is just a way for us to go into schools, go and visit groups and talk about the dairy industry.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Just to remind everybody, the fair is the last week traditionally of July, and hopefully it'll be much more wide open than it was last year. So we hope that you participate in that and support agriculture as a member of our community in our county. Anything else from anyone? Questions for Audrey?
Thank you, Audrey.
Yep, thank you very much for all you're doing.
Thank you very much, Audrey.
Yep, appreciate it very much, and have a good rest of your reign. Thank you. Okay.
See you later.
Jamie, we may go back to you then for some other items that need to be resolved.
Yep, got pretty big stack here. So first, let me present for you a couple of proclamations for your consideration and approval. The first one is actually ratifying a proclamation that you presented for National Police Week 2021 at the Peace Officers Memorial Service on May 15th. So we pulled up a proclamation that had been done in the past and updated the wording, and just want to get that into the minutes if you would ratify approval of that.
Okay.
Motion to approve the Police Officer Week proclamation.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded, and this proclamation was read publicly at that event. Any questions? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So moved.
Okay. Next, we've received communication from the September 11th National Memorial Trail Alliance, and they have been working for years now in trying to have a memorial trail designated between the locations that were impacted on September 11th of 2001, a connecting path that can be done, I believe, by bicycle, by foot, and some of it by automobile. And they're seeking the support of the communities that the trail will pass through, Lebanon County being one of those. The map that they are pursuing and trying to designate includes a portion of the Lebanon Valley Rail Trail, the kind of the southern half of it, I guess, for lack of a better description, takes the trail and then exits the trail onto Evergreen Road in South Lebanon Township and connects through some of the rural roads through Riceville and Newmanstown and so on, and heads then east into Berks County on its way from Somerset to New York City. So there's a resolution that was put into your packet, and it's language that they have proposed to us. And if you approve it, we'll be sure to get it along to them so that they can compile them all in an effort to get this designated officially.
I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution in support of the 9/11 trail.
I'll second that motion.
My understanding is that this was, visited upon John Wengert and his team, and they're in favor of supporting it as well.
Right. And it adds, it would add use to the trail, which is something they're always promoting. So,
Yep. Okay. All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So moved.
All right. I have a application for hotel tax grant funds from the Old Anvil Days organization, and they are they're holding their Old Anvil Days on August 14th. Historic Old Anvil Day, sorry. And they are looking at a budget of about $6,500 for the event, and are requesting $3,250 in grant from the hotel tax fund. They note in their description that it brings 8,000 people to the streets of Anvil every year, and it brings people from all over the country. Often the Anvil High School alumni make the trip from wherever they've spread out to and come back and have their reunions that weekend. They have their budget includes advertising on billboards, hiring of live music, and some licensing for that music, which is in addition to some of the other traffic control and so on expenses. That's what they're asking for to be funded out of the hotel tax. So any other questions I can try to answer, but you saw the application hopefully. So there you go.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the request from Historic Old Anvil Days for a real estate, hotel tax grant. And that was in the amount, I'm just looking for the amount here of
$3,250.
$3,250. There it is.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded and endorsed by Nick Yingst in a letter which accompanied the application. That's good to see his name around.
Love Nick.
Yep. Anything further, any discussion? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, so moved.
Okay. Let's see. Commissioner Litz had mentioned these exemptions and a bit of a slip there when she was talking to us, so I'll just go to those. Real estate tax exemptions for disabled veterans requests. There are two. There is Joanne Arnold of Elm Street, Lebanon, and Rodney Dale of Susan Avenue, Myerstown.
I'll make a motion to grant the real estate exemption to the two disabled veterans as requested.
Second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, so moved.
Okay, then I have three applications for county liquid fuel aid from municipalities for their annual fixed allocation that is typically provided. Mill Creek Township would like to use theirs for general road maintenance. Project cost of $4,000. Their grant would be $3,892 toward that. Cornwall Borough, also for general maintenance, 2021, cost of $4,200. Their allocation would be $4,112 of that. And same for Anvil Township, general maintenance of roads within Anvil Township of $4,955, allocation of $4,767.
Motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the liquid fuel grants as presented by our county administrator.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve that liquid fuels allocation for those three entities. Any question or discussion? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
Okay. Have a number of contract agreements from the Community Action Partnership, a mixture of medical assistance transportation program and also related to the emergency rental assistance program. Let me separate them here myself first. Okay, I'll start with the emergency rental assistance program. There's an agreement between, and these two are alike, but they're separate agreements between the county and Lebanon County Christian Ministries, and LCCM would be assisting with the delivery of payments from the emergency rental assistance program. They would be, their task would be payments for utility assistance. They're also helping us with, you approved the contract before, helping us with the transactions for actual rent assistance. This is for payments to utilities at $30 per transaction that they would charge. And it's anticipated that they would, over the course of the program, earn approximately $56,000 in administration costs for the doling out of the $3.5 million. So would ask your approval on that one.
Make a motion to approve the contract with LCCM.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve that contract. Any comment or question? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. So moved.
Okay, next I have two contracts for the emergency rental assistance program with individuals who will assist with the delivery, basically the case management portion of shepherding the applicants through the process. There's one internal employee who is assisting with that, and Sam would like to add these two individuals for the assistance, and they are Lillian Morales and Phyllis Holtree, both of whom are former employees of Community Action Partnership, familiar with this type of case management, and he is seeking their assistance at $33 per hour for not more than 25 hours per week. This will be most of the, I would say, the heavy lifting of the case management for this program. It falls within the administrative allowance that that the program allows.
Jamie, I'm sorry. I got Lillian Morales. I couldn't understand the second name.
Phyllis Holden.
Phyllis.
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
All right, Mr. Chairman, you ready for the motion?
I am.
All right, I will make a motion that we hire the 2 employees as presented at $33 an hour to help with the rental assistance, processing the rental assistance program.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we hire those additional folks to process and help with that rental assistance administration. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Oh, Jamie, yes.
I'll just mention, I think you're all aware, but in case you're not, this program has now been extended much beyond the original 8 or 9 month period. I think it goes, and some components of it go all the way out to 2024 now. So this is a much longer period of time to be administering these grants. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And I guess I'm not going to tie these two things together, but those 2 hires will just be during this crunch time. Is that not to, there's a finite.
There's a not to exceed amount per week.
That's
so I would say as the workload evolves, so will they.
Gotcha. Okay, very good. If nothing further, all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so ordered.
And the last of the type, I have an agreement for medical assistance transportation program for a driver, Adriel Pinero. And believe within are the amounts that are reimbursed for this. There's a long list, but per round trip, per one way, all the same as the other driver contracts we have.
I'll make a motion to hire Pedro.
Second the motion.
It's moved in second. Jamie, did you have another comment?
It's Adriel Pinero.
Adriel, yeah.
Adriel Pinero.
Adria, I thought you said Pedro. So sorry.
All right. Regardless, I'll second the motion.
Okay. Thank you. All in favor of the motion as presented, revised, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
And the last item I have is a tower site land lease agreement. We have been working on this agreement for probably the better part of a year now with Forever Media, which you'll recognize probably as the owner of what was WLVR and WQIC through Mr. Eder when he sold the company. This is so Forever Media is the contractor or the lessor, and they are interested in locating a broadcast tower on one of our 911 tower sites, which is in East Hanover up on top of the mountain. We own a 26-acre parcel there. We probably have that for about 12 or 15 years now that we have that parcel, and we have one tower on it. They would like to locate a broadcast tower, I believe, to be able to broadcast more toward the north from the top of that mountain, because it looks toward Schuylkill County. It's Schuylkill to the north, Lebanon to the south of the top of that mountain. So anyhow, Bob Dowd had been in communication with them. We engaged Tom Long, to assistant solicitor, to go ahead and start to draft up an agreement. This went back and forth a considerable amount, but we have arrived at this tower site land lease agreement to propose to you. They would be responsible for all of the constructing of their tower for their use. This would not be on our tower. It would be separate and apart, and there's plenty of room there to do so. And the term would be $7,000 per year. In general terms, for the taxes, because anytime you have an income on a property, it becomes a taxable. We would split the amount of the tax in half with Forever Media, and that's kind of what held us up. We went back and forth a long time on that, and we did some comparisons with other types of leases. Often the landowner is responsible for the whole tax amount, so that's why they were a little hesitant and ultimately willing to split it. And the amount we came up with the assistance of the assessment office, these are not quite as the charges are usually different for a radio broadcast tower than they are for a cell phone tower type. So all told, we believe we've come to a pretty good spot here with this, and would recommend your approval on it, and would provide for a source of income to continue to offset the costs of our tower maintenance at these sites.
Commissioner Litz.
Yes, Jamie, I have been up to that north tower and the road is horrendous.
Yep.
I was reading some in here, they may make some improvements, but only to their tower. Is this going to increase the expectation of the maintenance of that road for us?
No. We don't anticipate they're going to be needing to visit it very often. Initially, to get their equipment up there, I would expect there'll be some grading and improvement necessary to get it there, and that'll be their responsibility. Realistically, they're probably going to have a tracked vehicle that's going to pull, a trailer or some type of a skidded building, to house their equipment up there. That's typically what we've had to do there, and our Mount Wilson site is the same kind of rugged terrain. But yeah, I've driven up there as well, and it definitely takes four-wheel drive, and in inclement weather, you're probably not getting there at all. It's pretty steep once you get up toward the top, but they're aware of that.
They will bear that expense to get in and get set up.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be, it's not as though they're going to, build a paved road up there, but it has probably some erosion and off camber places and so on that'll have to be improved in order to get it up there.
Okay, just so they've been there and they know what they're getting into.
Oh,
yeah.
I have two more. These are easier questions, I think. Well, one is more of a comment. The one is, I was glad to see that there was provisions for dismantling should they ever disappear, because it's very expensive to take down and rid of those sites. But I also think that the tower is a good idea. Do they have a model where they do this in other places? Do you know?
I don't know. You mean a model of the tower? You mean what it looks like?
Well, that they work with 911 centers to use their sites. Is that something they're looking to expand on, or did they?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I think they just do studies and see where there's, the best line of sight, and then hope to find somebody owning it that's willing to cooperate. So I'm not sure they're always 911 sites. They may be.
I was just curious.
But for example, if you go up to our Cornwall site, which is off of 322, it is literally a tower farm. There are probably a dozen different parcels that all have towers on. So, in this case, I think we're the only one there. So, I don't know if there's a practice that they take. We were just happy to work with them. And as I said, be able to offset our costs a little bit. And I didn't mention, by the way, there are 7 opportunities for a 5-year renewal on this. So this potentially could go out as far as 40 years, and there's a 5% escalator each time it would be renewed.
Thank you.
All
I'll
right.
make a motion.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve the tower site lease agreement with Forever Media.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded, and I'm glad that they were able to put this together, and it has Tom Long's stamp on it, so that's pretty much good enough for me anytime. He's been a great utility player for us, for lack of a better description, but he did the Camp Shand and so on.
Yeah,
so,
he's good at these property agreements.
Yeah. So we got, good deal for both of us, and all in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying
Aye.
Aye.
aye. Opposed, same sign, so moved.
And I believe that's everything I have.
Jamie, nothing on that. There's some paperwork on LERTA, but we don't need to do anything.
No, that was, yeah, you voted on the 6th, May 6th, that just that the resolution wasn't actually in front of you then for action. So it was created and just included in your packet so you could see it. It's in the minutes for the May 6th meeting.
Very good.
All right. And a reminder, I know you're aware, but you have computation tomorrow morning, and that's whole election board function. So should be
9
exciting.
o'clock,
And do,
9 o'clock or 7?
9.
Thank
9.
you.
And I have to run because I have a 12 o'clock meeting at, for Conservation District out at Quep. So are we ready to adjourn?
well, I don't know. Does anybody else have? No, yeah, we are. Yeah. We have a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All right. Thank you. Good meeting. We stand adjourned. Thank you.